Hi, I'm Kirsten Gunrud with the Play Create podcast, and I don't have my sidekick with me today, but I do have my good friend Sam. And what I really want to talk about today, Sam, and what we're in the middle of right now with all of our subscribers to our email and things like that, is a 14-day Listen to Your Heart, Connect with Your Heart series. And it's all about using this month of love, this month of February, as a way to connect with your heart and a way to turn inward, not just outward, with that love and
Mhm.
start hearing all the amazing things that your heart has to tell you. And I've always thought, a long time ago, a friend of mine gave me a necklace that was a compass in a heart. And it was a time where I was really struggling and had a lot. And I don't think before then it had ever occurred to me, or maybe I'd never fully processed it, that your heart is really truly a compass and can really help lead the way. And so that was a powerful thing for me. And as I've done my work and learned, I've tuned into that more and more and more. And you are amazing on so many levels. You've got your book,
Oh,
Bigger Love, that you've already written. You have a new book coming out, and the name of that again is?
marriage from miserable to magnificent.
Yes. So you've got your new book coming out. You've done 2 TEDx talks. You work with people in relationships and love and all these things. And uh, part of why I wanted to have you on today is I have always thought of you as being driven so much from your heart. And then recently you had this experience where you realized maybe you weren't as driven by that. And it has taken you on this amazing journey. So I'm going to shut up now and wondering if you would share with us about that journey and just kind of what made you realize that, and then the the stories and adventures that have shown up for you when you really decided to fully embrace that and see what happened.
All right, let's do it. Um, Gosh, can you believe it's coming up on a year?
Is it really?
Um, yeah, so it happened in March of 2019.
That's right.
And I went to um, this workshop with a gentleman by the name of Philip McKernan,
Yeah.
who does great work, difficult work, a lot of inward looking and trying to figure out what's going on there. And one of the things that he had asked me was, do I trust myself?
Mm.
And the clear answer was no, I don't. I don't trust myself. And a lot of it had to do with my anxiety and my anxiety disorders and my panic attacks.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I could trust my body. My body was doing its own thing, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And it still comes up. So I didn't feel like I could trust it. But then I realized it's much deeper than that. So he's an interesting guy. He relies almost solely on his intuition to drive everything and anything he does. And he says he does that out of necessity because he's dyslexic. So he doesn't learn well. He doesn't read well. He just has trouble. He doesn't trust his mind. He only trusts his heart.
Yeah.
So all of his programs are like brave heart, brave soul, brave, being brave, and then it's really tied into your spirit. So after this workshop, which was really interesting because during the workshop, he did not say one word to me. He had asked me that question when I was working with him, actually with Symmetry 7.
Yeah.
I think you were there.
I was.
Yeah, when we were in Boulder, Colorado,
Yep.
and we had our own little private session with Philip, and that was where he asked me that question. During this workshop that I went to, he did not say one thing to me. And he did in-depth work with every other person there. I don't know if he's aware of it. I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever tell him that because we still, do work with him and stuff. But I was like, that kind of spun me out a little bit. I was like, why did that happen? And I was like, did I imagine that? Did he work with everybody else but me? And Pat's like, no, he definitely worked with every. And then another guy's like, oh yeah, you're right. That's so weird. He never even talked to you. So I went back because I was kind of like, well, I got gypped. So I went back and watched the video. Luckily, we had videoed his session with us. So I went back and watched the video, and I was like, what? And I kind of blew him off in the video, actually, because he said, do you trust yourself? And I said, I'm not going to answer that because I just had an epiphany. So I'd had an epiphany while he was speaking, and I wanted to talk about that, and I didn't really want to talk about the trust thing. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then I was like, do I trust myself? I'm like, I don't think I do still. I don't listen to my intuition. I don't even know where it is. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do an experiment. And for as long as I can stand it, I'm going to do whatever my intuition tells me. I'm going to be asking it on a moment to moment basis what I should do next.
Yeah.
And I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. And I told my husband, and he's like, I think it's great. I'm like, are you sure? And he was leaving town for a few days. So it was also a good opportunity for me to try this experiment. So I started asking it questions, and to be honest, I can't really remember what those first few days were like. I know I did a lot of journaling, I did a lot of meditating, and when I went to pick Patty up from the airport, I told him I had to leave. I had to go. I didn't know where I was going. I was pretty sure I was gonna take we have a little 24-foot RV. I was gonna take the RV somewhere. And I thought driving south would make sense since it was winter. But I didn't really know where I was going to end up. And he said, well, that's great. Maybe you should try to camp in this one spot that's kind of down by Vegas. And I thought, oh, that's great. I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, I said, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So I did. I got in the RV and I left the next morning. And I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I started driving towards that place where we thought I could camp. I must have left in the afternoon, actually, because I didn't get there until it was dark. It was pitch black when I got to this campground, and it was full. And I had the RV wasn't ready. So I had to like put water in it. I guess that's the only thing I had to do. I had to try to put water in it. So anyway, it was quite an ordeal in the dark. And then
most people would go, yep, doesn't work. And they would like turn around and head home, right? You know,
yeah.
I listened, I got this far and it's not happening, so I'm out of here.
Yeah, no, my intuition was like, no, we are not going home. Yes. We're not going home. That's not what's happening. I was like, are you sure? But it became a voice. It became a very clear, loud voice.
Yeah.
Oh, one of the things that did happen before I left was she said, call me Samantha, which is my name. Mm. And she said, I'm Samantha. I'm the Samantha of Sam. And I decided to look up what that meant. And I don't know if she told me to look it up. I don't remember how that happened, if I heard the voice or not, but it means God listener. So I started crying and was like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be listening to this thing. And Samantha is the part of me that listens to God. So at some point in my life, I have this dream that I will be listening to God so often that I'll be introducing myself as Samantha.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. So anyway, okay, so here we are. It's pitch black. It's super dark. I've just put water in the RV. I get back in, and I start getting turn by turn directions. You know, go here, turn right, turn left. However, I don't even know. I didn't know where I was. I was not going the same way I came. So I'm just letting her drive.
Yeah.
And she said, start looking to the left. There's gonna be a parking lot to the left, and we're gonna we're going to stay there that night. We're going to stay there tonight.
Yeah.
And sure enough, looking to the left, and there's a parking lot. It's like just a dirt area. So I parked there, stayed there that night. By the way, I'm scared. I don't know where I am. I'm kind of afraid. And I keep saying I'm afraid. And she's like, it's okay. All's well. Like, all's well. Calm. Everything's fine. So the next morning, she's like, we're not staying here. We have to move. You need to walk down this road and see. There's a campground. There's going to be a camp spot for you. So I'm like, okay. So I get out of the RV. I walk down. And sure enough, there's a camp spot. So I get back in the RV, and now I'm easily listening to her. And I was like, well, I'm still arguing with her though, because she's like, okay, you need to get out and go find the camp spot. And I'm like, I need my raincoat. It's gonna rain. She's like, you don't need it, but you can put it on, kind of a thing, you know. I put on my raincoat and I go find the camp spot. And as soon as I get into the RV after I'm back, it starts raining. But it didn't rain the whole time I was out there. Anyway, just funny, weird things, right? But I get to this camp spot, and it's definitely been, there have been some people like, there's like 2 or 3 big TVs that have been completely like smashed, and there's bullet casings everywhere. So it's kind of, it's a little bit creepy, to be honest. And I'm already scared. And she has me that whole day, you know, she has me kind of like walking around and meditating, and I wrote a song. But the next morning when I got up, she said, okay, today we're going to make art. And I was like, make art? I don't like write a song, because I write songs. And she's like, no, we wrote a song last night. You're going to like make art. I said, I don't make art. She's like, you're going to make art, and it's going to be, you're going to use all this garbage. You're going to turn this creepy, scary thing into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not. This is dangerous. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a TV, but it's like giant, like this, the glass inside of a TV is like this thick, and it's really sharp and scary. And I'm like, I'm not, and there's wire and rusted metal, and I'm thinking tetanus, because I have this, anxiety brain where everything's going to be a tragedy. I'm like, I can't do it. She's like, there's work gloves in the RV. And I was like, no, there's not. She's like, your work gloves are in the RV. Just go get them. They're inside. And I was like, I didn't bring them. She's like, no, they're inside. They're up in the thing. So I get in there. Sure enough, my work gloves are in there. And I could have sworn I took them out. I was like, no, I don't have them here. So I get these work gloves out, and I'm like, I don't know what to make. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I'm all about love, so I'm just going to make a heart. So I draw this heart in the dirt, and I have it facing the RV. And I'm like, because that's how, that makes sense to me. And I'm like, this isn't right. It doesn't look right. It has to face a different way. And it looked, so I scribbled that out, and I draw it just facing this random way. And I'm like, okay, this is how I can tell this is how it goes. It just fits better in the space. Yeah. So then I spend all day building this piece of art. And by the end, it is like a beautiful heart. It's really sparkly because of all the glass. And, I've used the red shell casings to highlight different parts of it. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And I was like, sweet. So I'm on top of the RV. I'm taking some pictures of it and whatever. And so anyway, that, I'm still listening. We're still meditating a lot, and barely eating, by the way, which was interesting. It wasn't a lot of eating happening. It wasn't something that my intuition was terribly concerned about.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, and I didn't feel hungry. So I don't know what that was about. But anyway, the next morning, she's like, get up. And I'm like, okay, great, whatever. I get up, and the sun's starting to come up. It's still kind of dark. The sun's starting to come up. And she's like, you need to just stay out here. Get a chair, like go get your coffee, get a chair, and just wait.
Yeah.
So I get a chair, and I'm watching the sunrise. And as the sun starts to come up, I realize that the point of the heart is pointed exactly Exactly.
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 Yes.
I have pictures exactly where the sun came up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course I started bawling, and I liked the way when I told you about this, how you explained that's like my my heart compass, right? She had me build this beautiful art, and facing right where the sun comes up.
Yeah.
It was a magnificent experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and a magnificent experience to hear and have shared. And as you know, I've shared it a little bit with people so far, and I'm so excited to be sharing it on this bigger level because I think it's so powerful, and it's such a testament to you to be willing to listen. I think a lot of us, like I said, I had a day. I think I've told you it was when we had the solar eclipse. And
Yeah.
I kept feeling this longing to go, but I kept waiting for my husband and my kids and everyone to get excited, and nobody did. So I never really made plans. And I didn't know how important it was to my heart till it was that morning, and it was too late to really get to it. And so then I'm trying to get to it, and nothing's working. And I'm so frustrated, and we drive and we're going to go here. And then I realize there's still not time to really get there. So I let the kids and my heart kind of take over. But actually, in that case, it was more my kids. And then I thought we were going left, and the kids were like, no, go right. And then we're driving and we get to this campground, and they're like, this is where we need to be. We're the only people there other than two other cars. And we have this unbelievable time with the partial eclipse where we were, and spending time with these amazing rocks in this river, and just having this beautiful experience. And at the end, we're getting stuff put back in the car, and I have my shirt on with my ahimsa, and this woman walks by and she's like, I'm about to give this bracelet to my friend, and it's exactly the same symbol that you have on your shirt. And I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And so we'd like talk for a minute, and she goes to give her friend the bracelet. And I'm thinking that was really cool and interesting. And I keep packing up the car, and we start to drive off. And as we're driving off, all I keep hearing is, you don't believe in coincidences. You don't believe in that. Why are you driving away? And I was like, I kept kind of ignoring it at first, because that's what we tend to do.
That is what we do.
We all hear these things, but most of us, the minute it doesn't work, like I was joking, but I wasn't. Most people would have gotten to that campground, seen it was full, and decided, yep, see, it's wrong. And I wanted to make it like, just, no, we need to get home. I've got things to do. And instead I was like, okay, fine. If I'm going to teach people this, and I believe in this the way I say I do, I have to turn this car around right now. So we turn the car around, we go back, I pull up to where these ladies are, and the one lady literally comes running, and she's like, we've been looking for you. We thought you left. And I'm like, no, well, we did, but I just kept hearing, this isn't a coincidence, you need to go back. And they're like, we're so glad you did. None of us even know why or what at this moment, and yet that's the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out that there's all these synchronicities and all these reasons we were supposed to meet, and it turned into this just absolutely magical thing that none of us would have ever known if I had kept driving and they hadn't come looking for me. And so that was kind of my equivalent of your heart thing, in terms of really seeding how powerful that compass is, and the magic that shows up when we listen to it. One of the things I'm curious about, if you have any thoughts, and I'm thinking about this too, is, do you think this just happens when we're ready? Or do you think there's a way? What do you think it is? And how can we help people think about this in a way to start listening to it more? Do you know what I mean? Like, what is that shift?
So it's funny, because this is something I'm grappling with.
Yeah.
I'm being called to do that same experiment again.
Yeah.
because I do not, on a day-to-day basis, I'm not asking my intuition questions.
Yeah.
Part of me is worried what it's going to say.
Yeah.
I think there, and as I've gotten a little more spiritual, and I've studied a little bit of the saints and some of the mystics and people who've walked the spiritual path, our icons for this kind of a life are terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? They've either isolated themselves, they're hermits, they're nuns, they're monks. I have zero interest in that. I'm really committed to being with my husband till I die.
Yeah.
Or till he dies, till death do us part. That's my path.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work for me. If my intuition said I had to do that, which I don't think it would, but when you making that commitment to give yourself over to that, it's not a light thing. That's not a light decision. And then some other ones where they
based on the stories. And I wonder, and I don't know if this is true, but what I'm really starting to question lately is whether those stories are just a handful of the stories.
I'm sure they are
Representative of the whole, and therefore have very much colored our idea of what that means. You're basically either completely crazy and you belong in a award somewhere if you do this, or you're one of the 5 or 10 or whatever who ends up, being the next saint or whatever it is. And there really aren't any stories that give space to that in between. And I think it's wrong. That doesn't feel authentic to me.
I agree with you, and I do think that a lot of our, the archetypes, I guess is really what they are. They're also seen through the eyes of organized religions mostly, right? Which creates a whole other thing, because I have zero faith in organized religion. I have very strong faith in spirituality, which I realized. I went and saw someone speak over the weekend who was talking about, what do you have faith in? And I thought that was an important distinguisher. But I think you're right. We don't have anybody to look up to who's, has a household and a normal life and a normal career, and yet has a very spiritual life that where they're listening to their intuition. I don't know. I'm sure they're out there. Like, I'm sort of on the hunt for those stories, where they
bring 2 of them to the table today. And I would invite other people to bring theirs too. I agree with you. There's probably some out there that we can find that are already out there. But maybe part of this is inspiring people to start sharing theirs, because
creating their own
people. And it surprises me when I share mine, they have them in the closet, and when it's safe, they'll pull them out. And I think there's an opportunity to start building the stories in the middle, because we're not crazy, and no, probably not saints either. But
right.
There's something pretty magical about what happens when you tune into that more. And I'm like, I don't listen every day. I probably don't listen for weeks at a time. It's an easy thing to kind of get in and out of step with. It's another one of those practices.
It is a practice.
And so
I often will wake up and be like, I'm going to follow my intuition today. And then I think, no, I have too much stuff to do, which is crazy, right? How do I haven't even, I should pick a day where I have stuff to do, but I don't, if it doesn't get done, it's not critical, and see what happens on that day and try to follow the intuition. The other thing I noticed about my intuition, and I don't know if this is true, is it's not giving me plans for the future. It is like right now. Yeah. It's telling me what to do right now. And if I don't take that opportunity, then it's gone. And I notice that as I stop taking those opportunities, I hear it less and less.
Yeah. Yes, it's a muscle. And the more you work with it, the better it works, and the less you do, the less it works. And it's always there. It doesn't go away. Like, it doesn't truly go away.
Right.
But if we aren't tuning into it, our ability to hear it and know it and feel it and trust it definitely is entirely relative to how much we practice practice it and open up to it, in my experience. And again, I think it may be different for different people, but that part of it I think might be pretty universal.
Yeah.
It took you, so you did that, but then you also had other magical times following that. I mean, it on and off when you listen to it, I don't think it's ever led you wrong, right? Or have you had a time where it was just like, oh, that time it didn't work?
No, I've never. Yeah, and that's so funny too, right? Like, and again, this is just again me trying to work through my own fear and anxiety, which I know isn't. Those aren't real. You know, they false evidence appearing real. The illusions of all the world that we're in, and my intuition is the most real thing about me. It's so funny that I hesitate. Maybe I don't know, but yes, it's and what I think some of it is that it asks me to do things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
So for example, I was like, oh, I got to tune into my intuition, and I think I've been having. It was actually when I was back east living in Tennessee, and I was going somewhere, and I got to the airport, and the plane was late, and the airport got struck by lightning. It was kind of a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So everything was late. It was dark in the airport for a while, and my intuition is like, you need to go buy a bag of kisses. And I was like, I don't want to eat the kisses. And she's like, you're not eating the kisses. You're gonna give them away on the plane. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm tired and I don't, but I did it. I bought the bag of kisses, and you would not believe just holding a bag of candy and saying, do you want a kiss?
Yes.
How it lit up, and everybody was pissed off and irritated. And then you give them a piece of candy, and everyone, like, it was like it lightened the whole mood. It was like the plane could have floated away itself. People were so excited. And even people who didn't take the candy were like, oh, thank you. So, they're getting on grumpy. They're getting to their seats like, that lady, did you get a kiss from that lady? So it's one of those things where, like, I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But because I'm also I'm an introvert, as you know, like I could be a hermit and never talk to hardly anyone again, and I would be happy. But that is not where my heart is driving my life.
Yeah.
So I'm just constantly pushed into these uncomfortable situations, and so maybe that's also me going, I don't want to listen today.
You are on to something huge there that I have not put together yet. So as you know, so much of what I do, and I know you do too, is about getting out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I've studied and researched what drives higher performance, what drives more joy in your life, what drives all of those things. It really does require getting out of your comfort zone. Like, staying in your comfort zone doesn't drive it. And if you look at anyone who's really accomplished at a high level, they had to get out of their comfort zone to get there. And sometimes that's not driven by joy and heart and other things. When it is, it takes you to this really magical, beautiful place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it requires getting out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I had not put together that is the fear we have in listening to our hearts, because our hearts know that truth.
Yeah.
Our hearts know that for us to be the person we came here to be, or whatever, for us to live our biggest, best, most amazing, fullest lives, that's what it requires. And so that is probably why so many of us, and at certain times in our life, intentionally turn that off. Because we don't get out of our comfort zones.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh God, what is going to tell me to do today? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I have the willpower to get out of my comfort zone today.
Yeah. And that's okay too. I think that's the other thing, is this is a baby step thing, right? Like, you went all in. You were like, okay, where are we going? I'm taking this time. I'm fully listening. And that is, like, so courageous and beautiful and so powerful. And yet most of us probably aren't going to be able to do that for whatever reason. We don't have the time, or we're not ready to go to that level, or whatever it might be. Baby steps. Like, even if you just listen to it one day a week first, and then or one time in a week, and then the next week you do it 2 times, and then the next week you maybe try 3. There's another, and I'm not going to be able to think of the book that this is in right now, but our mutual friend Babby brought this up. There's a book that talks about listening to it in ways that don't matter. So every choice that really isn't a big decision, like, should I wear the red shirt today? And you literally listen or feel, or however that information shows up, yes or no. And if it's no, you don't wear the red shirt. Okay, yellow shirt, nope. Blue shirt, yep, you wear the blue shirt. Looking at the menu, should I have the enchiladas? No. Okay, how about tacos? Yes, you have the tacos. And that by doing that every day for 30 days, by the end of that period, you will have learned how to tune into your heart, and then you can start calibrating and using it on the bigger stuff. But the idea is to take stuff that just simply doesn't matter, because I think that fear doesn't kick in and all the other stuff doesn't kick in then,
Mm-hmm.
as a way to really learn to trust it to move in, which is another thing that I've just recently learned that tool. And I think there's probably something to that way of doing it too.
Yeah, I think there is probably something there. I was going to say though, from my one just dedicating myself to that, I was gone like a week, I think about a week I was gone. And again, I guess I didn't describe it, but I was in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert when I woke up. I mean, I could see nothing, nowhere. I could see, I was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And shell casings and trash, and who knows who could show up in the middle of the night. And,
yeah. And I had 3 huge epiphanies when I was there. One was kind of that all is one. Like, I really felt that we're all, everything and everyone and me, it's all the same. We're all the same. And I felt that love, and I wrote a song about it, actually.
Have you recorded that yet?
No, I haven't. No, but I want to do a spiritual album this year. So I have 3 spiritual songs I've written. I need to write a few more, but that's another thing. When I was at this retreat, I heard very loudly from my intuition, like, you need to go back and write music, because that's another way you'll get out these messages that need to be heard by people. And I also got a very strong message that control is the opposite of love.
Yeah.
That freedom. Well, and I knew that I could say those words, but I was like, I got it like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And freedom and trust are love. That's how you express love. You give people and yourself freedom and trust, and that's what love is.
I'm getting major chills as you're saying that.
Yeah, I really feel that now. I really get that in my core. And also on that trip, I really forgave myself for not being the mother that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And begged my children for forgiveness. I called them bawling and wrote them both letters. And at least I took a step towards healing that wound that I created in myself.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I learned about myself was that, I've been chasing money my whole life. I wanted a big career because I wanted money. I needed money. And I realized that I don't give 2 shits about money.
Yeah.
I give a shit about freedom, having freedom of my time to be able to do what lights me up and what I think is going to make a difference in the world. That's the only reason I'm chasing money. Yeah. But chasing money in and of itself is not worth my time and effort.
Yeah.
And I won't give in to that. And I can live so happy in the desert in a 20-foot fucking RV and never want for anything. Like, if I can get fed, like, then I'll be good. So those were my 3 huge epiphanies that have changed the way I have lived my life this year.
Well, and you came
completely.
from that, and that's when you guys decided to sell the house, right?
Yep, we sold everything and we're like, hey, let's just go live in places where we think it's interesting.
And and that wasn't hard, right?
No.
So this is the other thing I think we think, because someone listening to this might go, holy shit, so she listened to this and then she came home and they sold their house. Like, I'm not listening to my heart. Like, whoa, right? Because you did. But again, the paradox is it all just made such sense that it wasn't hard to do. Like, it, without listening to your heart, all of that stuff probably would have been like, are you kidding me? But once you listened, it made so much, and it made sense to Patty too. Like, it just flowed, because that's actually
what I'm supposed to be doing. What's interesting too is that the fear of doing it, or the fear of not wanting to do it, or whatever, like when I get up and think, oh God, I don't have the fortitude to do it today. That's just my mind. Yeah. That's just my mind making excuses. That's my ego trying to hold myself, like trying to keep itself alive, I think, right? Isn't it? Like my ego's like, oh, we can't listen to our heart. What am I going to do? I'm the ego. I'm in charge here. Sam, you're in charge. This is not okay. We can't listen to Samantha all the time. What's going to happen to our lives? It's all, like.
Yeah.
What a great realization.
Yeah.
Boom.
I love this. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love telling that story, if I can ever find an audience for it, because it changed my life. And I'm thinking, like I said, I have another one coming up. I will be taking, as soon as my book's launched at the end of this month.
Yeah.
I will be taking some time to do I call them my walkabouts. I've been doing walkabouts for a while, but that last one was my first tuition walkabout.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I love sharing your story too. So I hope it's okay that I do.
I love that you're sharing it. Share away.
Yeah. And hopefully this will inspire some of the people who are listening and who've been doing this 14-day series and participating in that to give it a try and just see where it takes them. And it's
including me. I'm inspired to give it a voice again and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And as we talked about in our last podcast with you, we hope you'll become a regular, because we have so much fun.
I would love. I'll come on anytime you guys want. Awesome. So much fun.
Thank you.
Okay, love you.
Love you too. Thank you.